Breaking news, the Bengals just robbed the NFL. Joe Flacco has been traded to the Cincinnati Bengals in what looks to be replacing the struggling Jake Browning. We're going to discuss the impact that Joe Flacco could have, the details of the trade, and what our expectations can be going forward for the Cincinnati Bengals. Welcome to the jungle. This is Isaac Coffman with Bengals Digest. Happy to see all you Bengals fans, and if you want to get in on the discussion, make sure you are subscribed by smashing that subscribe button. We are on our way to 3,000 subscribers. We appreciate each one of you. So yes, the Bengals have had Jake Browning as their starter for the last few weeks. Unfortunately, he has struggled mightily. Even with the talent of Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and the like, he has shown he is just not putting it together in the way that they had hoped. So there was a lot of questions. There was a lot of talk of, are the Bengals going to go outside of the organization? Are they going to use one of their backups? I honestly didn't see this one coming because I was thinking different names like Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, even Kirk Cousins. But no, the name that came out was Joe Flacco. He just got traded from the Browns. It looks to be for a 5th round. That's what the Bengals are going to be giving up. And in return, the Browns are actually going to include with Joe Flacco a 6th rounder. So it's interesting. They kind of swapped a 5th and 6th pick for Joe Flacco to now be on the Bengals. So there's a lot of pros and cons with this. This is very interesting to me that the Bengals are deciding to trade because for the longest time, Zach Taylor was seemingly a big Jake Browning fan, defending him despite those rough outings at Minnesota, at Denver. A lot of ones were thinking he was going to be benched after that Denver game, but he went into Detroit, still struggled. So you got the sense that it was definitely running out of time for Jake Browning. If all goes accordingly, Joe Flacco checks out, all that goes through with the trade, he looks to probably be the starter going against Green Bay this week. So very interesting. What is Joe Flacco going to do now that he has Jamar Chase as a receiver, T. Higgins, Mike Gesicki, Chase Brown out of the backfield? This is a interesting trade just for me personally. I honestly, again, didn't see this coming. The thought was possibly the Browns would maybe cut Flacco or trade him after he was benched, but I honestly didn't see this one coming. This is a breaking news really for everybody. And they also interviewed Zach Taylor. This was his thoughts on getting Joe Flacco as well today. He said, Joe is an experienced quarterback with a history of winning. He is a leader with a skill set that will fit our personnel well. He is a gifted passer with a strong arm, and we are excited to have him on our team. That's another positive when you have Joe Flacco. It seemed like Jake Browning was having a few issues pushing the ball down the field, at least for accuracy's sake. Maybe that's something that Joe Flacco can give them a little bit of an improvement on. It still remains to be seen. It's not like Joe Flacco was lights out. Again, he was benched for his performance earlier this year. Just looking at the stats, he put up some decent numbers against the Bengals the first week. They ended up losing that by 1 point. It was a 17-16 victory for the Bengals. But overall, so far, Joe Flacco hasn't been lights out. So we have to keep expectations realistic here. This is a 40-year-old quarterback. And sure, he's won a Super Bowl. That's the big pro. You're bringing in a guy with experience, a guy that has playoff experience. If they can get there, if they can get this ship righted where they can get back on track, because again, they are 2-3. They are not out of this. They haven't been eliminated. They are sitting at where they can string some wins together. You're right back in this. The Baltimore Ravens lost yet again. So what was viewed as kind of your big competition in the division, it's actually the Steelers that are leading the division currently. Are you able to right this ship, get back on track? Well, so far it's going to be a wait and see. Again, if we look at Joe Flacco, he has 2 touchdowns and 6 interceptions on the season. Not great. His completion percentage, 58%. And that's kind of been, I would say, the negative with Joe Flacco is he's kind of been that boom or bust. And certain years in recent memory, he has put together some good games. He has actually looked pretty decent. Then on the flip side, he's given the ball away. So that's been Jake Browning's problem. Now you're getting a guy that's older that could potentially do the same thing. A lot of questions here, but I got to say, at least the Bengals are showing effort here. They went out and are admitting that Jake Browning is not the answer. That's what they really have done. And it's just showing again that they are committing to possibly getting this season turned around. Joe Burrow is 3 months with that turf toe. The thought is if you can have a guy like Joe Flacco holding down the fort, if he can just be solid, he doesn't need to go out there and throw 500 yards. If they can get this running game going and complement him, who knows? And this defense has been starting to come alive a little bit. It's been dealing with all those turnovers. I want to defend the defense a little bit. They have also struggled at times. They're young. They've been making some mistakes. The tackling needs to improve. But with Joe Flacco, you've got a proven leader. And that's what this team needs. It needs more leadership. It needs more ownership. Jamar Chase has come out and kind of been that leader. But now you have him at the quarterback position. And it's no knock on Jake Browning either. He's been kind of that leader, but at the end of the day, it's also going to be your production. So remains to be seen again with Joe Flacco. He's going to need to go out there and perform, obviously. But I have to admit, I do like this trade. It's something. You could go out and get guys like your Russell Wilson, your Jameis Winston, Kirk Cousins. Those were names that were kind of being floated out there. You've got to figure the Bengals were also inquiring about those teams, inquiring about those players with those teams. But at the end of the day, they're going to go with Joe Flacco. And I just am more of in a wait and see. I see a lot of potential here. He just needs to be that serviceable time manager. Don't turn the ball over. That is the big thing that has been killing the Bengals. Despite the blowouts that they had at Minnesota, a lot of that can be attributed to the turnovers. So it comes back to what version of Joe Flacco are the Bengals going to get? And I think what's a positive, what you can look at if you want to stay on the positive side, is he's got a lot more talent on this offense than Cleveland does. Cleveland is known for their defense. That's their strength. They don't have guys like Jamar Chase or T. Higgins. Joe Flacco is now going to have those weapons at his disposal. He's going to be able to, again, bring in that veteran presence. I think it's on paper, despite the struggles, you might look at Joe Flacco's stats, you might see what he's been doing in Cleveland. I think it's going to be an improvement for him. He should be better than what he has been in Cleveland at the very least. That's how I feel about it. But again, it's a wait and see. I'm not going to write home and say this is a slam dunk kind of a move, but at least it's something. You got to commend the Bengals for trying, admitting that Jake Browning was just not the answer. It wasn't working out. They gave him 3 full weeks, and he was struggling by turning the ball over. And in Denver, having problems with moving the ball. They just look stagnant against the Denver Broncos, and he's had his chances. I think Jake Browning, with the right tools, with the offensive line, that's been part of it. But at the end of the day, he still has to go out there and perform. Unfortunately, that just hasn't happened. So, remains to be seen. Let's hope we get the good Joe Flacco. The Bengals can turn this around, get back on the winning track. They've got a test here with the Green Bay Packers. They're going to be traveling to Green Bay. So we'll wait and see what's going to happen. Joe Flacco, he's played the Packers already this year. That's up maybe an advantage as well, that now you have a quarterback that's already played the Packers this year. Maybe he has some intel going into this game. But again, remains to be seen. We'll have to wait and see. But we want to hear from you guys. What do you think of the Bengals getting Joe Flacco to hold the fort down in Joe Burrow's absence? We want to hear from you guys. Comment below. Do you think this was a good trade? Do you think they should have went after another player? Comment below and let us know. Also, as well, make sure you're subscribed by smashing that subscribe button. So that's going to do it for now, guys. As we say, Hoo day.